MCDFNL A-grade netball show. I'm Grace Bibby, joined by Yendi. Yendi, I missed out last week, but I'm back.
Oh, well, we didn't have enough room in our budget to keep you on for another week, so we had to sub Mitchie in, and we actually had some of the biggest ratings of all time.
I'm sure we did.
It seems to be the Mitch factor is pretty high here at GoFo Goldfields.
Certainly is, and it was a big round for the Ronald McDonald House fundraising week. We had some good netball across the board.
Yeah, we certainly did, and probably not too many surprises in terms of the results, but I think the margins were probably a little bit higher than we expected. But saying that, we did see a lot of games between those in the top half and the bottom half, which I think might have sort of tilt the margins the other way a bit.
And there has been a lot of big margins across the year. There's like quite a divide between our top end and our bottom end, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, but that's probably become more evident over the last maybe 2 to 3 weeks, where we've seen teams like Navarre that have dropped out a little bit, and it's sort of getting a longer season for some of those clubs. Whereas you look at Malden, they started prominently and then they've sort of dropped off a little bit and started to pick up again. So the gap's sort of there, but still the top 10's still quite solid. And I know it's pretty hard. It's been a long season for a lot of clubs, and but we know that at the end of the day that anyone in the top 8 can beat anyone. I mean, Trentham are undefeated, but as we saw a few weeks ago, Maryborough Rovers, they went out and beat Carisbrook, and the Rovers have been on a 2-game losing streak. So it's been one of those competitions.
Yeah, it certainly has been. And on the back of one of those big results, 44 goals, Campbell's Creek went down to Denali.
Yeah, I think Denali will be pretty happy about that. They're looking to consolidate themselves at the moment in the top half of the ladder, and just to build that confidence up within the group. They've had a few games where they've been in front and they've been overrun. So to go out and play a good four-quarter performance is important, especially against Campbell's Creek, who haven't really been that bad this year for a team that has been in the bottom half of the ladder.
And another big margin was Royal Park going down to Harcourt by 47 goals.
Well, given the season Harcourt having this year, really dominating in the top half of the ladder, they're really taking everything with a lot of confidence. They set up the win in the first term where they led by 18 goals. He scored 25 goals in that first term. But, you know, hats off to Talbot. They could have easily rolled over and conceded a heavy margin, but to be 18 goals down at quarter time and only go down by 47, I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah, probably taking you positive out of the game where
I think so.
Maybe not too many.
Yeah, but it's very easy with teams like that where they concede such a big lead earlier on and they sort of just go through the motions. But I think they were still a little bit competitive as the game went on.
And, sorry, which game did we just do?
Harcourt and Royal Park.
Maryborough and Trentham. Sorry, I'm just catching up with the times here.
Yeah.
Maryborough obviously went down to Trentham. Trentham remain undefeated.
Yeah, I think that result speaks great fortunes of how well Trentham have been playing. We highlighted just how good they've been all year, and you look at some of their star players who have been in some quality action this year in the goal front. You look at Yushana Fords and Hayley Burks, who've been in some great form. I think one of the key stats that stood out for me in that game was Shana Ford, the young 16-year-old superstar. She shot 11 from 11 in that second term when the game was in the balance, and that really put Trentham's stamps on the game. So for a young player to perform that well against a strong Maryborough Rovers backcourt, I think it's great. And I think it's a little bit disappointing for the Rovers, to be honest. Though they defeated Carisbrook a few weeks ago, and it really should have given that belief that they could beat a team like Trentham. They've lost 2 games in a row now, so things are looking a little bit shaky for them, when a top 4 spot was almost guaranteed a few weeks back.
Yeah, that's it. Sometimes those big wins really help build the rest of the season, but unfortunately not for the Rovers this time around. And Malden were too strong for Talbot?
Yeah, I think Malden will be keen to finish this season on a high. They've to get a few wins on the board is pretty important. This was a good effort by them. Talbot, it's been a tough year for them. It's been a long year for them, but hats off to the Bombers. They've been quite competitive, and hopefully next year they can consolidate on some of that momentum and actually make the top 8, because they've certainly got the ability and talent there.
And one game that was a bit closer than what we might have expected, Carisbrook only beating Newstead by 20 goals.
Yeah, Newstead, we're talking about teams that had a tough year, but it's certainly been a long year for the Kangaroos. But to get within 20 goals against a side like Carisbrook, who I think their average winning margin would be over 20 goals every week. They've been one of the powerhouse sides. We look at how good Trentham have been, but I think Carisbrook's probably been one of the more frightening teams in the competition. That's pretty good for Newstead, and to score 38 goals against that sort of defence there at Carisbrook, I think speaks volume of the improvement and how well they're going to go into the future.
Carisbrook certainly have put a number of teams away more than what Trentham have.
Oh, you betcha. The way they've been winning, their attack is just absolutely incredible, and their defence is just as good too. So I think Newstead will be pretty happy with that. And Carisbrook, you want to be winning those games the best you can, and they were challenged, which is good for the comp.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Navarre went down to Natty-Bialaba, almost ending their season at the end of the regular games.
Definitely has ended their season. I think it's a disappointing result there for Navarre to only score 20 goals in a game where they would have been borderline to have a win, and when there was so much at stake as well. But that says a lot about how well Natty are going at the moment. To win by 27 goals, I think is fantastic for them. We talk about the Jess Parry factor. I hope she's getting fines every time she gets mentioned on this show. I think she scored about 8 goals, but it was a tough day at the office for her. And Natty just played some sublime netball and deserved that big win.
Yeah, certainly do. And one of the games probably of the round, or maybe the performance of the round, Lexington defeating Avoca. They come from 13 goals down and still took the points. Tell us more about that.
Well, it was a massive turnaround. To have that 13-goal turnaround is quite amazing. To be trailing by 8 goals at quarter time and to come up and win by 5, I think that's quite remarkable. When we talk about slow starts, they only sort of scored 6 goals, but they kept chipping away and to come from behind in that final turn. But we expected a good game between these two sides. They've sort of around similar spots on the ladder, so to come out and have that really good show, if this is going to be an indication of what finals is about, I can't wait for it.
Yeah, finals is certainly going to be exciting. And we'll move into round 14, obviously the round coming up. It's the Love the Game round. Obviously, we love the game, not the odds.
Absolutely, yes, of course.
So we'll just move through them fairly quickly. Natty-Bialaba v Avoca, who do you think there?
I think Avoca would be too strong. It's going to be a really good tight game. But for Avoca, there's a top 4 spot on the line riding on this game, so they get up here, then they'll certainly be in the box seat to get into that spot.
And 2 clubs that maybe aren't battling for a finals position but are battling for a little bit of pride. Royal Park v Campbell's Creek.
Yeah, I've got Royal Park winning this one. In all due respect to Campbell's Creek, they've been competitive this year, but Royal Park, they'll be looking to get that valuable win on the board. And
we would think Denali would be too strong for Talbot?
Yeah, I think so too, yep. It should be a good win by Denali.
And after a cracking performance last weekend, Lexington take on the undefeated Trentham.
Yeah, well, I think for Lexington, if they can get within 15 goals, I think it's going to be very, very important for them. But Trentham, it's just a matter of how much for them. They've certainly had a great year, and they'll look to continue that on the weekend at home.
And Maldon take on Navarre, a good opportunity for both clubs to get a win and start their development for 2019.
You're spot on there, Grace. Both sides, they're sitting in 9th and 10th respectively here, so I think Maldon, who really started to finish pretty strongly with the season, will continue with back-to-back wins.
And Maryborough Rovers take on Newstead. Can Maryborough Rovers get back in the winner's circle?
Oh, they will. They certainly will against the Newstead side, as we highlighted. We're very competitive against Carisbrook. So, yeah, Rovers, they'll end a 2-game losing streak and come away with a big win here.
And Carisbrook take on Harcourt. Now, this is on Saturday, not on Sunday, which was originally fixtured. So, if you want to get along to see Carisbrook and Harcourt, which will be a cracking game of netball, make sure you do that on a Saturday. Yeah,
exactly. I think it's I'm not entirely sure of the circumstances, but it would have been a great game to actually see on the Sunday, because it's a battle between 2nd and 3rd, and the winner here will essentially probably sew up 2nd spot on the ladder. Not that it really matters, because let's be honest, these two are looking like they're going to face each other in week 1 of the finals anyway. So they're probably. I'd be interested to see. I mean, you've been around sport a long time, but when you have a scenario like this, what sort of cards will the teams reveal at this stage?
I think a win's a win in home and away season, Yendi. Most clubs just want the wins on the board. If you go down or whatever, it gives the other team confidence. So they'll put their best 7 on the park, no doubt about it. It's all about going into finals with as much confidence as you can, and to do that you need to put your best 7 on and make sure you either get in a lead early or working towards that win and the finish. Yeah,
I think for this game, I would like to see Harcourt get the job done, because in my firm belief is that Carisbrook is the second best side in the competition. So to have Harcourt be in that position where they can say that they can run with Carisbrook, I think it'd be great for the comp.
Yeah, it certainly would be great. Shake things up a little bit.
Absolutely, exactly. Carisbrook have had an outstanding year. We know that they might end up playing Trentham on grand final day the way things are going. But if Harcourt can do it, it sort of gives a little bit of doubt and maybe a little bit of belief within the other teams that, hey, Carisbrook can be beaten.
Yeah, and it's great that it can go either way. Well, Yendi, thanks for joining us for another edition of MCDFNL A-Grade Netball TV. What do we call it? Is it
TV, yep. It's exciting. We get a few thousand views every week, which is always pretty exciting across our multiple platforms. And yeah, can't wait for this round to start and see what unfolds and what other stories we'll have next week in terms of what happened on the weekend.
It's very exciting. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next week.